You know what I'm saying? Yo, we up here at the Bonnets and Durag podcast. Yo, they got me in a durag. Look at how we do it. I gotta get the waves back. Yo, come on now. Look at that. I had the waves for the cover, but I had to cut it down because I was doing so much press. I just needed something low maintenance. But Bonnets and Durag podcast, man. Y'all about to bring the Oakland out of me.
I love it. I love
awesome.
it. Inspiration behind your new book, The Truth About Men. So you said that it's a user's manual for both men and women, whether single or married, to help them become equipped with the necessary knowledge, insights, and tools to transform their lives. So I already know that there's some men who are listening to this episode right now, probably sucking their teeth or rolling their eyes, like, "Oh Lord, what is he going to say? He's going to expose us." But I know that you didn't intend to write this book to throw them in the doghouse, but instead,
No.
you're trying to challenge them and trying to challenge them to accept and master and discipline this dog that you speak of that lives within them. So, you have said that this dog can be selfish, impulsive, manipulative, lust-filled, all of the above. But can you talk a little bit about this dog persona that you mentioned in the book, where it stems from, and without spilling all of the tea, maybe tell us how what work can be done to resolve it?
Sure. Yeah, I really wanted to write this book because I think that it's time for us to, come to a moment of truth in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that truth is that, we as men, can be better and can do better. And it starts with us looking in the mirror and saying, what kind of man do you want to be? And I think that too often in our culture we have celebrated the degradation of women, especially black women.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have celebrated the devaluing of women. And what happens is when that's celebrated in the culture, it finds its way into interpersonal relationships. And you have young men growing up who don't necessarily have the model for what it means to be a man. So as a result, they end up perpetuating this type of behavior that's detrimental to themselves, their communities, and their families. So I wanted to write this book to say, listen, I'm not pointing the finger, right? I'm saying, hey, I struggle too, and I'm honest about those struggles, I'm transparent about those struggles, but it's time for us to come to a moment of truth.
Mm-hmm.
We got to change. We got to change. And change is hard, but it's good. Why? Because it creates more peace and gives us really what we're searching for, which is true validation and true power, which comes from within. And so writing this book, it's not about vilifying men. I'm not male bashing. I'm a man, all right? So I am not here to put us down. Men are not dogs, but we can act like one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I talk about in the book. I say that in the book, every man struggles. And it's really important that this book is not just a book for men, it's also for women. Because a lot of women do not understand men. And if you don't understand men, it's going to be very hard to successfully navigate your relationships with men. So my thesis and my idea in the book is that every man shares the same struggle and has the same secret. And that secret is lust. And I call lust the dog. I use the dog as a metaphor, as an analogy to describe how lust operates in a man. It is selfish, as you mentioned in your question. It's selfish. It wants what it wants when it wants it, however it wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And many times when we as men start hearing that dog bark, we start feeling those impulses, those urges. It could be for sex, money, power, greed. It's not always just about women, but a lot of times it is about women. When that dog starts to quote unquote bark, many men don't know what to do about it other than to feed it. And what I have learned is that the one you feed is the one that's going to grow. And in a man, even though there's lust called the dog, there's also the master, which is love. Every man struggles between these two things, love and lust, the master and the dog. Love is the love of self, love of God, love of the woman in a man's life, love of family, love of community. If we want to be successful as men, we have to learn to master the dog. We have to put the dog in check. We have to put lust in check. We have to put selflessness in place of selfishness. Because love is sacrificial. What does that look like? It means I love my girlfriend so much, or I love my wife so much, that even though I may have lustful thoughts or lustful desire for other women, I will not do it. Why? Because I love them too much to hurt them. This is what mastering the dog begins to look like. And also, giving us another specific example related to relationships, when a man decides he wants to be a master. Now, a master is all powerful. So as men, we have the ability to have the power that comes from within. Mastery takes a lifetime. Masters, it's like playing golf. You don't just learn it overnight. It's something you work on every day. I work on it every day. I have not mastered the dog. I work on mastering the dog every day. But one of the things that's really clear and key to being a master is communicating clear intentions. And too often in our dating lives, we as men do not communicate what we clearly intend with the women that we're dating. So in the book, I challenge any man reading the book. I say, listen, let's come to a time where we practice honesty. If you're not serious, let her know. If you don't have good intentions, let her know. If you have good intentions, let her know. But no longer in dating should we hide, should we manipulate, should we play. Because when we do that, on the other side, the receiving end, is not a toy, it's a person, a woman, a heart that we may play around and move on to the next situation. Whoever we inflict pain on, they may deal with that for the rest of their life. So I wanted to write this book to say, we can do it, men, we can become better. Here's how we do it. And I also talk about myself. I say, hey, listen, I turn the mirror on me. I'm not pointing the finger, I'm saying, hey, I do too. I have a dog in me too. I have a master in me as well. I work on this every day. You know, I'm married to Meagan Good, one of the most beautiful women in the world. It doesn't stop me from having a dog. And I have to choose, do I want to become what is in me? Meaning, do I want to become that lower self? Or do I want to work on becoming the higher self, that higher man, that master in me? And this is what the book's about. It deals with the struggle between the two, but it points towards a positive, what I believe, empowering solution for how to deal with this.
Right. So in what ways did you tame your inner dog?
In many ways, I tame my inner dog by a lot of the information that I put in the book. And one of it is urge management. So I believe the quality of our life is directly related to the urges that we manage. And a lot of times for me, you know, it's like I talk about this in the book, like when I got married, before I got married, I thought, oh, okay, cool. I know I have this dog in me, I know I have this lust in me, but when I get married, it's gonna go away. You know, I meet the love of my life, the woman of my dreams, we get married, I say I do, I think it's good. Hey, the dog's asleep, gone away. Lo and behold, a couple months in, the dog wakes up. And I'm like, what is this? How is this possible? I love my wife, I'm faithful, I don't want to cheat, but why do I have these thoughts? Why do I have these feelings? So one of the ways I had to learn to master that dog was to be honest about what I was feeling and stop judging myself for feeling it. So often, many men that I know have these feelings and these thoughts that they don't want to have. It's not like, hey, yeah, I really want to think this way, or I want to think negative, or I want this thing to run me. No, they don't want to have it. So I had to say, okay, let me stop judging myself for having the thought. And let me acknowledge that it's there. Let me accept that it's there, but then let me figure out what to do about it. One of the biggest things to do about it was like, okay, I gotta learn how to manage these urges. I gotta learn to accept that they're there. And one of the tips I put in there is that a lot of times when you have an urge that is an unhealthy urge, an urge that goes against everything you want to be and do, part of the strategy is sometimes just take a 10 count.
Yeah.
Take a 10 count, you know?
Take a moment to breathe.
Take a minute.
Recollect
Because
yourself.
a lot of times when you do that, take that moment to breathe and clear your thoughts. You allow it to pass.
Yeah.
Versus every time a thought comes on you or an urge comes on you, you feel like you gotta do something about it. There are many times you're hungry. Just because you're hungry doesn't mean you eat. Sometimes you say, you know what? I'm in a meeting. I can't eat right now. Or I just ate. I'm actually full, but my brain's trying to tell me I'm hungry. I know I'm not hungry. So let me navigate the hunger pain so I can get to a place where I can manage it. So these are some of the things that I've done personally that have helped me master the dog.
Do you think that women can be dogs?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But one of the things I was very mindful of in writing this book was I did not, as a man, want to write a book about what women got to do better. We have listen, every day there's information, there's so much stuff out there of men telling women what they got to do better. Right. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. I say, no, as men, here's what men got to do better.
Yeah.
Here's what we have to do. We can do this work. And if we do it, we can become the men we were created to be. And women, here's the information you need to know. However, in the book, I write a specific piece of information in this book where I tell men that women have a dog too. And a lot of times that dog in the woman wants that dog in the man. And be careful of that. Be careful of it. Because if you're dealing with the woman that brings the worst out of you, that fosters the lust in you in an unhealthy way, that is someone that you need to be cautious of, not someone you need to run to.
Right. Absolutely. So I did want to go in and ask you a question.
Yeah,
so
please.
What is your advice for men and women who are at odds with one another?
Yeah.
And I know you're human, so I'm sure you get into arguments with your wife.
Never. No, y'all know I'm kidding.
Right. It would be unrealistic, you know?
Yes, it would.
So in what ways do you remedy those issues at hand?
You know, one of the ways that we remedy the issues at hand are, first of all, just being honest, right? So it's like, you know, one of the reasons why I wrote The Truth About Men is I'm practicing truth. And that is hard.
Ooh.
It is hard because think about, you know, when you're in a relationship, how much stuff you don't say and what you really feel, but you never communicated. So in marriage, this is the person you're gonna be with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So Meagan and I really work on communicating and telling the truth. And sometimes, you know, we'll have a conversation and I'll say something the wrong way or she'll say something the wrong way. And because we both love each other and we both want the best for each other, a lot of the times, the moment we say something, the moment it comes out of our mouth, the way it came out, we're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't have said it that way. I know I shouldn't have done that. The other thing that we do is we try not to go to bed angry. You know, we try to resolve whatever issue. And we also try to give each other room to grow. I think that's really important in a relationship and in a healthy marriage. Give them room to grow. You know, we're all changing. Every day we're changing in some way. And sometimes we get stuck on who we want somebody to be instead of accepting them for who they are.
Yes.
And so we practice a lot of acceptance. Okay, this is who you are. Okay, let me work on accepting that in its fullness. Let me not hold on to a version of who I want you to be or who I thought you were, but appreciate who you actually are. And that takes time. That takes practice. And also, we try not to ever argue from a place of bitterness, or we try not to ever argue out of a place of love. Even when we are upset about something with one another, we still keep love in the conversation. So what that means is we don't say things that are going to intentionally hurt, that are going to not convey how much we love one another. Even when we're angry, we still don't go to a place where we cut the other person down, where we say things that we know are going to hurt them intentionally because we're mad in a moment and we try to justify it. We don't do that. We don't do that because that, you know, that saying, words, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's a lie.
True.
No, it's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true. Words hurt. Let somebody you love say something about you or to you. I guarantee you, it may hurt worse than a knife. Okay. Somebody that you love, somebody that you trust, somebody you thought was on your team, and then they say something to you. I'm telling you, you'll see that words have a tremendous amount of power, especially in a relationship. The person we're with can build us up, they can break us down. And so in marriage, I try to be mindful of that. She tries to be mindful of it. We're not always successful, but we work on it when we miss the mark.
No, you're absolutely right. My boyfriend always says, words mean things, Simone, so be mindful of your words. And he's definitely it's allowed me to be more mindful of how I speak to him and you know, the direction of the conversation. So I definitely feel you on that. It's so powerful. So I did want to jump back into a moment of time. So just bear with me. So you're on stage with your wife, and you're doing a press tour for your joint book, The Wait.
The Wait. Thank you.
A heckler gets on the microphone and tries to advise Meagan to cover up, you know, if she's going to be a woman of God. But you quickly defended your wife and her wholesomeness and her Christianity. So take me back to that moment. What was going through your mind when you heard that? Like, because that was such a viral moment for us in social media. We all were looking at our phones like, yes, we love DeVon. We need a man like DeVon. So take us back to that.
Man, that's hilarious. You know, I was just in that moment. You know, it's almost like you spring into action. Man, you know, when it comes to protecting your family and protecting your wife, it just was instinctive. I didn't think much about it. I just went into action. Hey, my wife is being attacked. I'm not going to let that happen. And, you know, I was also trying to do it in a way that was, you know, loving to the person. It's like, hey, no. She is an individual. At the end of the day, she's going to stand before God. And at the end of the day, she can wear whatever she chooses to wear. That is her right, okay? And you can't come in and start telling her what she can and cannot do. She can wear what you... So my whole thing was to protect, to do it in love, but to be firm and to be very clear that we are not letting any of that outside judgment, we're not letting any of this outside point of view come in to our home. You may not like it. God bless you. Pray for us. But what I'm not going to tolerate is you denigrating, downgrading and trying to demean my wife in public relative to what she chooses to wear, which is at the end of the day, not even between me and her, it's between her and God.
Right. Yes, you politely read her for Phil and told her if you have questions, we're open to that. But if you have comments, keep it to yourself or bring it to your prayer room.
There you go.
And I was like, oh, yes, a read, okay?
Take it to the prayer closet.
Yes, prayer closet. So how did you know that your wife was the one for you?
That's a good question. I, and this is going to sound crazy, but because when I was walking through my history, I've worked in the entertainment business now for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And when Meagan and I met, I was an executive for Columbia Pictures, Sony Pictures. And, my big rule was I don't date actresses. Mm-hmm. One, it just wasn't good for the profession because I'm an executive and you're hiring the director and you're hiring the actors, and that would just look kind of weird that you're using your job to date people. So I didn't want to do that. And then also, actors are crazy. They're crazy. Meagan, if she was here, she'd say, yeah. And so for me, I was like, all right, here we go. When we met, it was just totally business. It had nothing to do with anything more than that. Mm-hmm. And then we did Jumping the Broom. I was the executive on that movie. She was a star in that film, one of the stars in that film. 9 months after, at the premiere party, we started talking. And, good conversation. I was getting ready to go on my book tour for Produced by Faith, which was my first book. And after the end of the party, I said, hey, I'll give you a call when I come off my tour. I was gone for a couple weeks. I came back. I hit her up. We hung out. It was cool. I thought it was just platonic. Mm-hmm. We went out again to a Prince concert, actually, at the House of Blues, our second date. Mm-hmm. Wow. But I didn't really think of it as a date, even though it kind of felt like it. But I'm like, no, this is just friendship. Hanging out, yeah. But it was on the third date when we went to the movies and talked afterwards, where I just felt it. I was like, oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. Wow, this is happening. Oh man, this is good, and no, this is not so good. Because I don't date actresses, and she's famous, and oh my goodness, my life, what's gonna happen? Like, it was just like crazy, but I just went with it. I committed to the process, I challenged myself, I faced my fears, and from that third date on, it was clear that she was the one for me. Wow. And we've been growing ever since. So I would encourage any single Christian that is interested in finding the right person to use whatever means are available to see what God wants to do. Mm-hmm. So part of it is having faith, but it's also doing some work. Mm-hmm. If you just sit in your house every day, all day, and you think God's just going to have the person knock on the door, He may, but I don't know it's going to work like that. I think it's important to see what He wants to do. That could mean, going on dating sites. It could mean, being out more social, being findable, so to speak. So I think it's really a combination of faith and works. I think part of it is He can bring the person to you, but you also we have to do our part. If I was at home and I was, not living life to a degree, Meagan and I would have never, come across our paths. Mm-hmm. God didn't just have us show up. What happened was, as I was out and as I was doing what He called me to do, He produced a moment where we connected. Mm. So He did bring me to her and her to me, but I had to get up and get dressed that day. Yeah. I had to do my work. Mm-hmm. So, I want to be clear, God is not a genie. He's not a magician. And a genie, you can get whatever you want, and it doesn't matter how you live or what you do. God says, no, I need you to participate. So I would encourage anyone out there looking for love, participate in your love. Don't get discouraged. Be findable. Use technology. You have no idea. I know people right now, friends of mine that are married, beautiful family, that met online. So I wouldn't have any stigma about anything. Let's see what God wants to do.
Oh, yes. Such sound advice to end on. I feel like we can talk for hours, but I know that we have to wrap this up.
Oh, man.
Yes, this is
so good. I got to come back.
Thank you so much. Yes, please come back. It was such a pleasure having you on the Bonnets Durags podcast show. I know I love it. I know my audience is going to love it. So everyone out there, DeVon Franklin's new book, The Truth About Men, will hit shelves on February 5th. Don't forget to rate and subscribe this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as SoundCloud. And also follow us on social media on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All the pages are under the Bonnets and Durags name. Until then, I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
It's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Oh, you're just amazing.